to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasharal. Yahuwah is our power. Yahuwah is a God. Hear, O Yasharal. Yahuwah is our supreme one. Yahuwah is a God. And you shall have Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to bind to the mind. You know the little boxes that you see the Orthodox Ashkenazis wear? They get that from here. He said you are to bind it, but that word is fall, and it means to bind to the mind, not to put a box with scriptures in it and put it on your forehead. Right. In other words, he was saying, give the instructions that I've given to you access to your mind. Right. You want to pull down thoughts, you want to pull down things that don't please Abba Yahuwah, give him access, give his instructions access to your mind. God. Give him the access code, and it is so. It is so. Once again, verse 8, and you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall, to bind to the mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your Abbas, to Abraham, Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things that you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, somebody say, when I become full. When I become full. Then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the arid of the from off the face of the arid. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power, as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah your power swore unto your Abbas. And it is so. And it is so. And it is so. All right, let us have another song, please.
We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. We offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of praise. We bring sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. We bring sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of
We want to turn our attention to the scroll of Yahush, the son of Nun. And we're going to start at verse 7. We're going to read verse 7, and then we're going to confess verse 8. I tabled it to fit our time of personal confession. And so we want to begin with verse 7. Once again, Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, begin at verse 7 and verse 8. And verse 7 reads, only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all of the Torah which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit our time of confession, repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah.
I will not let the scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth.
depart out of my mouth.
But I shall meditate in it.
But I shall meditate in it.
Yom and Layla.
Yom and Layla.
That I may observe to do.
That I may observe to do.
According to all that is written in it.
According to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
And then I shall act wisely.
And then I shall act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, and you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor and tell your other neighbor, and you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah.
Abba Yahuwah.
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
No, Abba Yahuwah.
Abba Yahuwah.
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I endeavor.
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I endeavor.
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I endeavor.
I endeavor
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It is important that we understand the power and the principle of acting wisely. Very important, especially when we are, or we know that we're living in a time of Torahlessness without the instructions of Abba Yahuwah. And so it's very important that we understand how to govern ourselves. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us have one more song, please. You'll have one. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me.
soul and all that is within me. I will prove your name. 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 Prove you. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Prove you. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will prove your name. 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 Prove you. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. Prove you. Oh, my soul and all that is within me. I will prove your name. I will prove your name. I will prove your name. I will prove your name.
And come on and Baruch his name. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, Abba Yahuwah, you are worthy. It is you that we draw strength from. It is you where we get our marching orders from. And we do praise you. We appreciate you. We applaud you for all that you're doing, all that you've done, and all that you're yet going to do in the lives of us, your people. We do appreciate him. We do Baruch him for all that he is doing in our lives. Very important that we understand these things. Very, very important that we understand and that we make Abba Yahuwah the principle of our lives. That we make his, not just his instructions, but we make him.
Yes.
It is important that we understand that. And the reason I say this is because sometimes we fail to realize that Yahuwah, he is his instructions.
That's right.
And we want him without the instructions. And there's some of us want the instructions without him. He is a package deal. You cannot have one without the other.
That's right.
And with that being said, it's very important that we understand what our responsibility is and how we are to govern ourselves. And so I do truly appreciate him for once again allowing us to bring us back to this place where we are able to learn together and we're able to praise him together. It is very important that we understand these things. Once again, I pray that your Yom has been Baruch and that your Layla is Baruch. I pray that he continues to Baruch your life, and that he continues to speak into your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Mishlei 15:8, the sacrifices of the wicked is an abomination, hateful and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah, but the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. He delights in hearing us pray and communicate with him.
That's right.
Mishlei 3:4, so shall you find great understanding and high esteem in the sight or judgment of Yahuwah and man, and it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Hebrew 11:6, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so.
And it is so.
Ayah 33:4. The Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Somebody say he's a life giver.
He's a life giver.
Yes, he is. He is a life giver.
Yes.
Micah 3:8. But truly I am full of power by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34:15. The eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17. The upright cry unto Abba Yahuwah, and he heareth us, and delivereth us out of all our troubles. So know that he is a waymaker, and he will deliver us.
That's right.
Masa 1:8. But we shall receive power after that, the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon us, and we shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea and all Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Yehukin and Aleph 2, 5, and 6. But whoever keeps his Torah, truly the Ahab of Yahuwah is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. Verse 6, he who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk, just as he walked. And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we want to turn our attention to Yehukanan, Aleph 5, 3 through 15. Very important. Once again, I always read it, I always reiterate it, I always encourage us as a people to hold fast and not let go, because many are being blindsided by the enemy and by false doctrine to believe that Yahushua is not truly the Mashiach and that he is truly not the son of Abba Yahuwah. Let me tell you something. If you go back into history, you will find out the very things that our people are facing to Yam, they faced generations ago.
That's right.
You look back in the time of Rashi, who was at that time a rabbi, if you would say. He was one of the ones that coerced people into believing that Yashia 53 was not speaking of the sovereign one, which is the Mashiach, but he said that was talking about the children of Yasharal, which does not fit, because our people did not fit the description then and definitely don't fit it today.
Right.
But once again, all it takes is for one person to come in that has that persuasion. And so it is important that we understand and that we remain committed and hold fast to that what he has delivered unto us as people. We always take it to the writings, and let's deal with it there. And so we're going to read it to reinforce our belief, and also to show forth what Yehukanan was dealing with then, we are dealing with now.
Yes.
And this is why he was adamant about bringing forth what he brought forth in Yehukanan Aleph chapter 5, beginning at verse 3. He said, for this is the Ahab for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are what? Not difficult. Because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief.
Right.
So there's victory in our belief.
That's right.
Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahushua is the son of Yahuwah? That is a question. This is the one that came by water and blood. Yahushua Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and the three are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater. Somebody say the witness of Yahuwah is greater.
The witness of Yahuwah is greater.
It is greater.
That's right.
Once again, because this is the witness of Yahuwah, which he has witnessed concerning his what? His son. The one who believes in the son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this life is in his son. We don't get life out of believing in Yasharal. We just become connected. That's all that is, but we don't get life through that. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
He who possesses the Son possesses life, and he who does not possess the Son of Yahuwah does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Very important that we understand that.
That's right.
Very important. And we're going to do our affirmations, our declarations, and then we're going to seal this portion of our class with the writings. affirmations, declarations that we declare and that we speak in the atmosphere to not only confirm, but to solidify us in our walk and even in our talk. Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah
I have the life and nature of Yahuwah
in my ruach.
in my ruach.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahush is in me.
Is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge.
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab.
Yahuwah's ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power.
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom.
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach.
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush, our Mashiach.
Our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we will do our declaration for this Shabbat. Very important. Every time I read this, it becomes more and more of a reality to the importance and why we should consider one another.
Yes.
Why we should consider one another and why we should pray for one another and why we should declare over one another's lives these important principles. Very important that we do these things.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Because one thing I've learned is the more we pray for one another, the more we become connected to one another. Believe it or not, we do.
Wait.
This is important that it's very important that we understand that this is how we truly began to understand us as a people and the importance of understanding our need for the Abba.
That's right.
Very important. So as we recite this, declare it in the atmosphere, let it really become a reality, and let us constantly make it a reality, not just on the nights that we have class, but even when we're not in class,
Yes.
that it still is a part of our daily regimen, it is part of our prayer life, it is a part of what we do. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
We subdue ignorance,
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this
of
knowledge
Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
Yasharal.
Yasharal. We unite, not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy, of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so very important that we understand we're not one another's enemies.
That's right.
And we may not all believe the same way. We may not even all respond to Abba Yahuwah the same way. Bottom line, when it's all said and done, we all are going to have to mature and walk it out as he's given it to us. There's not one way to follow the instructions, and that's to follow them.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that we must commit to doing. No matter what or where we find ourselves, we need to be committed. It's amazing that other cultures, other people, they don't have the problems that we end up sometime having. Why? Because we are always so ready to debate and be argumentative about certain things. I'm standing up because we're going to bow before our King. And it is only respectful to bow before him, especially when we are handing him back his word.
That's right.
It's only respectful to do that, especially when we're standing before the King. So we want you to bow with us as we bow before the King. And as we recite this together, let us bow and say this with us. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14, and it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence, and it is so. Before we do, I want you to just give me a little bit of this. All I want is a touch from you. If you would, just give us a little bit of that.
All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right.
is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you.
Thank you.
All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you.
All I need.
All I need is a touch from you.
Come on.
No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I need is a touch from you. All I need is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you.
Come on.
No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you.
Come on.
No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Make the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. All I want is a touch from you. All I want is a touch from you.
Come on, praise him for that. Come on, yes, come on, praise him for that. All I want, all I need is a touch from you. No one else can do the things you do. Take the wrong in my life and make it right. We didn't say take the wrong we've done and make it right. We said the wrong in our lives and make it right. In other words, the mishaps, the misfortunes, the disappointments, the things that have happened in our lives, we ask him to take it and make it right.
Right.
Because only he's capable and qualified to take a broken heart and mend it. Only he's capable and able to take a wounded spirit, a wounded mind, and rejuvenate it, revive it, and bring it back to life. Only he's capable and qualified to do that.
That's right.
He's able to take the things that we've experienced, rejection from our mishpachah, rejection from those that we are. Only he's able and qualified to turn those things around in our lives and make it right. You start thinking, well, how can he take somebody, rejecting me, make it right? Because he can give us the strength to move forward and not look backwards.
Yes.
He can give us the strength, and he's willing and able and ready to give us the strength just to say yes to him.
Right.
There was a song we used to sing when we were in Christianity. We used to say yes to Abba Yahuwah. We would just say yes, and we would sing it, and we would sing it. Why? Because we want our answer to always be yes to him, and we want him to know that it is yes.
Right.
It is yes to him. Excuse me. And when you tell him yes, you give him permission and access to do what he needs to do in your life to make things right.
Right.
I know many of us have experienced different things, and just something to encourage your heart as we prepare to get into the lesson on this Layla, but just something to encourage our hearts, because sometimes we go through things, and sometimes we've gone through things that have festered and set up in our hearts for so long that we just accept it and not realizing. It's just like people, and I don't say this to be malicious or funny, but it's just like people that are extremely overweight. And when they're extremely overweight, sometimes things tend to happen to them, and they don't even know until they go somewhere and get a thorough checkup. We heard of an instance where this man, he was so overweight that he didn't even realize he had broken his toes and from walking on them, and he had broke his toes, and maggots had begun to form because flies had blew on his feet. And so when he went to the hospital and they began to wash his feet, they began to see all this come up. And so sometimes with our lives, we can have the same things present in our lives because we allow things to fester and set up for so long. And sometimes we don't realize it's there until somebody comes and helps us to recognize those things that are going on in our lives. So I want to encourage your hearts on this, Layla, as we prepare to get into the writings. Keep your head up and always keep your shoulders squared and always keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah. You hear me say this because we can't go wrong following his instructions.
Right.
Where our people erred is where they failed to comply and to follow his instructions with their whole heart. You have to understand, you cannot take him without his instructions, and neither can you take his instructions and leave him out of it. It is a package deal, and we must be willing to comply and follow everything that Abba Yahuwah has given unto us to follow. And it is so. And it is so. Now we're going to turn our attention to Bereshit chapter 28. And our theme this Shabbat is Wayetzei. And it is, and he went out. And he went out. As we've come to this portion on last week, we found out why Yaakov had to leave. And so we're going to get into the meat of this, and we're going to flesh it out a little bit on this Layla. And we're going to see the results of some of the things that took place in the beginning. Now, many of us have come to understand, and we've been taught, that Yaakov tricked Esau. He didn't trick him. He just basically asked him for something he knew that he didn't want. And I don't believe that Esau understood the, I don't believe he really understood the full impact of him doing what he did. Right. Now, I'm not saying that he was stupid and that he was unaware of what it entailed, because you have to understand, they grew up in the same house. They didn't grow up in separate places. Right. So he understood, but he just didn't want it. He didn't have a desire for that. And because he didn't have a desire for it, he ended up losing it because of his pride, arrogance, and his selfishness. And so we're going to see now why Yaakov is where he is. Now, once again, as I said on last week in the class, we find out that Yaakov is headed to his in-laws, not his in-laws. He's headed into Samishpakah, his Emma's brother's home. Now, you have to understand the reason why things become complex, and because things become the way they are, is that if you've ever read in the scroll of Yesher, you will find out that he was robbed by his nephew. And because his nephew, along with his entourage, which he was about 15 at the time, but he was well skilled in the bow and arrow, and he had an entourage, and so it was Esau that sent him after his own uncle. Matter of fact, his uncle that looked exactly like his papa, and he sends him out to kill him. But because Yaakov knows how to negotiate, he was able to negotiate, and he was able to, I don't want to say talk himself out of that, but he was able to talk and negotiate a plan that kept him from losing his life. So he gave everything he had. And yet, mind you now, they never went empty-handed. They always had caravans of people and stuff, because you never went to anybody's home, whether it was a relative, friend, or whatever, without some type of substance. Today it's really not customary with some people, but even when we were in Christianity, we had a pastor that we knew that every time he would go to another pastor's ministry, which I believe if you go to anybody's ministry, regardless of how powerful you believe they are or how small or insignificant, because you never know what in time that ministry will do. Are you following me? Yes. And I'm not talking about in Christianity. I'm talking about now regarding people in their positions. And so as such, he would go, and when he would go, they would always take a gift. They would always bear gifts, and he would always stand up and he said, I always want to keep an alliance with you, and I always want to build that relationship. Excuse me. He said, because if we ever have to go to war, he said, I always want you to be on my side and not against me, and never go to war with you. And so you have to understand that is a biblical principle. And so they would always do one another in that, which once again, I believe that now, because we know who we are, that we should never go to anyone's place empty-handed. We should always bear gifts, not because we are afraid that they will turn around and fight us, because it would be a civil war for us to fight against one another. but I believe it is the respect that is given to that house. And so as such, it was their custom to do so. But on this time, he was robbed. Now you have to understand, he was robbed by the very person that basically said he had done him injustice by taking his birthright. You can't take something from somebody unless they give it to you. Mm-hmm. He was not dead. He gave it away. Good. He actually sold it for a bowl of red lentil soup. And so chapter 28 brings us to the place to where we see Yaakov on his journey. And this is why when you see him sleeping in the manner he's sleeping is because he has nothing. He didn't leave out that way, though. He did not leave that way. But that is the way on his journey it found him, without anything. And so it's important that we understand this. Why is it important for us to understand this? Because you have to understand this is what started a series of events in his life. And so we're going to read about that on this Layla. And let us be mindful, excuse me, and let us take hold of the principles that we will learn this Layla. And it is so. And it is so. Yes. All right, we're going to begin with verse 10. And we're going to read, let's read 8 verses like we always do. And let's begin at verse 10, please.
Bereshit, chapter 28, verses 10 to 18.
Yes.
And Yaakov went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place and put it at his head, and he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed and saw a ladder set up on the earth, and its top reached to the Shemayim, and saw messengers of Yahuwah going up and coming down on it. And see, Yahuwah stood above it and said, I am Yahuwah, power of Abraham, your Abba, and of the power of Isaac, the land on which you are lying. I give it to you and your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and the south. And all the clans of the earth shall be bereaved in you and in your seed. And see, I am with you, and shall guard you wherever you go, and shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. And Yaakov awoke from his sleep and said, Truly, Yahuwah is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Yahuwah, and this is the gate of the Shemayim. And Yaakov rose early in the yom, and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a standing column, and poured oil on top of it. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, very important for us to look at, once again, what is taking place here. And so this is relating to also in verse 10, the Esau's marriage to Malah. Malah was a digression. And so by the mention of Isaac's displeasure at the daughters of Canaan, now the main narrative is resumed. So now it is taken up to where what's important. Now you know why he's leaving, because he is on his way to do what? To grab a Isha. And this is the reason why. Now, once again, you never go empty-handed. Now you see what he was left with just oil. Now, knowing having a visitation like that of the Abba, the first thing he would have done was what? Offered an offering. It was customary. That was just in them to do so, to build an altar and to basically offer. But understand this, if he would have had everything that he needed, he probably would not have stopped. He would have kept on moving, and watch this, he would have missed the presence of Abba Yahuwah. Now you have to understand the visitation of Abba Yahuwah was to encourage him to continue to move forward. Why? Because he had just got robbed. Mm-hmm. You know, that's if you've ever been robbed, and I've never been robbed before, but I've known people that have been, that shakes you up pretty bad. Yeah. You know, because you don't know whether or not the person's going to get had itchy finger or itchy trigger finger and accidentally shoot you or what have you, or accidentally, which they won't accidentally beat you up, but go and beat you up or do whatever. But you have to understand something. The importance of this is that Yahuwah met him where he was to encourage him. And this is why we see the conversation being led the way it's being led, is because he wants to encourage him. Now, once again, he's laying and he takes a rock to use it as a what? A pillow. This man comes from a place of wealth. Of wealth. But he has to use a rock for a pillow once again, not showing that he is broke